Thank you. So the first bit is, what is mindset? Let me do this in slideshow so that you can see. Yeah, I think this is better. Isn't this better? So you can see everything. So I'm sure all of us have an idea what mindset is. So I'm not reading your comments on wishing me best of luck in my dance in my dance lessons. Thank you. So I think basically mindset is the lens through which we view our abilities and our potential. So how do we see ourselves? We can describe it sometimes as our world view. So basically, a layman's definition, what is mindset? Lens or mirror through which we view our abilities and our potential. And why is it important that we have to pay attention to our mindsets and what is actually going on in our mind? Because it impacts our confidence and our motivation to take action. But I think for me this afternoon, if you go away with nothing at all, I will be pleased if you keep at the back of your mind going forward that your mind can be your best friend, but then on the reverse, it can actually be your worst enemy. And the good news is that the power is in your hands. You have the key. You can choose what you want your mind to do for you. So we are not as if we don't have a role to play. We have an active role to play, and whichever lens you choose or whichever direction you adopt, whether your mind becomes your best friend or becomes your worst enemy, depends on you. And I'm hoping that by the end of this session, you will walk away with some tools that you can put into your toolbox and actually go away and start making your mind your best friend. Oh, come on. Let me come out of screen share. Just give me a minute. Okay, I found it now. Okay, so now that we are talking about the brain, I love giving this very simple illustration so that we could, because we can't see our brain, but we know that we all of us have brains and it's somewhere in our mind. So basically, in very basic layman terms, our mind is structured into two sections. We have the left side of our brain and the right side. So the left side is for the survival brain. So fight, flight, freeze response. You develop the left side of your brain during childhood, and the development and what your mindset, the left side of your brain is made up of has, so some of the impact or what tells on that is your education. So the strengths that we get from our left brain is language, numeracy, knowledge, rational thinking, critical thinking, analysis. And these are all good. But sadly, the left side of our brain generates negative emotions through the function of the survival brain. So the flight freeze response. So all the negative emotions, fear, anxiety, worry, stress comes from the left side of our brain. But sadly, most of the time, we default to the left side of our brain rather than the right. So when you talk about, I'm sure all of us have heard about the subconscious mind. So the left side of the brain is dominantly responsible for that. That's what makes up that subconscious bit of our mind. And a subconscious, and sadly, we don't use most of our conscious mind. We rely mainly on our subconscious mind. And that's our default. That's what we would go to usually. Now let's talk about the right side of our brain. So it's the middle frontal cortex side of our brain. That's where empathy sits, creativity, gratitude, wisdom, courage, forgiveness, the big picture thinking, being decisive and laser focused. So in one sentence, the right side of our brain generates positive emotions. Now, if you are to choose between the left and the right, I'm sure all of us would say, oh, I want I want to use the right side of my brain more. But like I said, we don't. And the left is our default. So you have to train your brain consciously, move it from the left side, which is the survival mode, which is good for numeracy, knowledge, rational thinking, which we develop during childhood. You have to make the efforts to shift from the left side to the right side if you want optimum performance and you really want to be operating from a place where you're looking at things from the big picture. You're more courageous, empathy, creativity, all the things, gratitude, all the things that help us thrive. So as I go along, if you have a question, please put in the chat. So Ransford says, probably explains why lefties are super smart. Well, amazing. Do we have any question at this point? Please let me know if you're following me or if I've lost you. Are we here? Are we all good? My people, are we good?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, yes, please.
Yes, my question is, I'm interested with the light brain. So how can I get this? Or I have to build to get this
Amazing.
positive emotion.
We'll get there. That's the meat part. So you have to stay for the whole session and then I'll get there. There's no way you're going to go off this session without knowing how to shift from the left because it's our default to the right. Okay. So we'll get there. But thank you for asking. So I want us to do this activity. Take a pen and paper and reflect on your current mindset. What are the pictures and the images that you play in your mind a lot? And this is just 5 minutes. It's now 20 past, so 25, and then 2 or 3 people can share. Reflect on your current mindsets. Write it down, identify areas of improvement, and then we can share. So I'll keep quiet whilst you do that activity. Are we okay with that, please? If you've finished and you want to share, please go ahead. Whilst we wait for the others, still have some time for this activity. Listen, you really look chill though. Have you finished? Sorry that I'm picking on you. You know you are my sweetheart, and you are the only one's face I can see.
Oh, no, I'm not yet done.
Okay. If you are done and you want to share, please unmute yourself and share. I can't see the chat until I go and look for it. So I might not be able to see if you put your hand up, you raise your hand up in the chat. So feel free to unmute and share if you are done. I know Annabelle is also there. Was someone speaking?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Paulina.
Hello, Paulina.
So these are the 3 things that I put down.
Okay.
The first one is that I can do all things that I set my mind to. As Christians, we would add through Christ who gives us strength. Then the second one is that barriers can be overcome. And the third thing that I put down is that time and persistence resolves everything. Thank you.
Amazing. Do you think you have any areas you'd want to improve on, or you are pretty much happy with the current state of mind that you have?
For me, it will be inertia, like the mental inertia. So there are lots of projects that I have in mind. Getting it to go, that will be what I'd want to improve on. But sometimes that inertia also comes from having too many things to do at once. So yes, mental inertia, that's what I'd want to deal with.
I think so you are on the VIP, so I'll have a session with you, but I'm keen to know which one is your highest saboteur. What comes? Because I think I might be able to offer some suggestions on how to deal. Have you done the assessment already, please?
No, not yet, unfortunately. It's marking season and we are tight.
Because
tight.
Okay, we'll have our session together, so don't worry.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else who wants to share? We can have one more sharing. Ransford, are you there? Ransford, my sweet brother-in-law, please, I want to hear from you.
So to be fair, it's only one thing that came to mind, and it's that there's no guarantee in life. And maybe I might be priming, but I woke up this morning and one of my PhD supervisors told me that he wouldn't work with me. He's an external supervisor. I had planned to travel to him in Australia. So that I'm almost done with the travel arrangements. And then he just wakes up one morning that he's moving and blah, blah, blah. So he wouldn't be able to continue with the project. And so, I mean, maybe it's priming, but I mean, that's one thing that came to mind, that there's no guarantee in life. So right now, that's probably the mindset I have at this moment. So,
amazing. I'm glad you are here and this happened at the right time, because I think I might be able to offer some suggestions to help with that. Thank you so much, Ransford, for sharing. Can we have one more share and then we'll move on? Another
Can I come in?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so mine is worrying unnecessarily, and how to improve it, or an area for improvement, is to stay calm and stay focused and be very dependent on God. That is what I have.
Thank you for sharing. Is that Annabelle?
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. I think someone else wanted to share, and then we can go on.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I feel slow and steady wins the race. So okay, take for instance, there's a business idea on my mind, and looking at women thriving and all that, sometimes I ask myself, can I match up with them? Can I, the fear of the unknown is there, but at the back end, I just tell myself, just take things gradually. You will get there in no time. So that's how I feel.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I think I can also offer some suggestions to support you on your journey. Okay, let's get to the interesting bits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
I would like to say this one last thing. I think after listening to all is I think that our current state of mind plays a role in our lives, and that it's always whatever that is around us at a particular point in time. is what plays a major role at that time. So as Ransford said, that's what he's got, that his supervisor is no longer willing to go ahead with the project. And as it stands now, I am a law student and I've got a lot of criminal minds. So it's quite difficult for me to just take people by their words. So it's we should all relax. That is life. I mean, wherever you are at any point in time, or whatever you are thinking at any point in time affects our lives. But we should all try and, as much as possible, to put certain things aside and let's live in the moment and know that there are better days ahead. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sinam, for sharing that. And I think one thing that I'm sure we've heard over and over and over again, that our current lives is a reflection of our mindsets. So if you look at where you are now and you're not satisfied with your life, or you think there is more, this current state is a reflection of the things you think about the most. So the level of education or the place you are in your job, whatever, how your relationship looks like, majority of it just reflects what you're seeing is a reflection of what you're thinking about all the time. And that's how powerful our minds are. And that's why it's important that we make sure we make the effort. Because like Esenam and Ransford's example have shared, things happen in life, and that is life. But how do you make sure that in spite of the things that happen, you're still in a place where you can still move on and do all the things that you want to do? And it's a journey. We are all learning. And so I want to salute all of you and say thank you for showing up this afternoon, because you could be doing anything else, but you've invested this time in developing your mindset. And I'm sure that by the grace of God, you walk away with the feeling that this time has been well spent. So let's look into, initially I shared about how the brain is structured, the left side and the right side. And I said the left side of our brain contains all the negative emotions, despite the fact that it helps us with numeracy, language skills, and all that. So the left side of our brain is home to the 10 saboteurs. If you've already taken the assessment, the 10 saboteurs that show up on the list, that's where they are. That's their dwelling place, and they are saboteurs because we call them saboteurs because it's almost as if, I like using the term, your negative self, because these are the things that are responsible for all the stress. So if you think about negative emotions, these 10 saboteurs are responsible for all the stress and anxiety and worry that we feel most of the time. Now, you may wonder, how do we develop these saboteurs? Well, they come about as coping mechanisms. We pick them up in childhood as a way to survive. So, for example, if you grew up in a home where your parents, my father is a military dad, and Ransford will probably laugh at this, and he expects the best from you all the time. He's the type of person, even if you come home with 95, he'll tell you, what about the 5? So as a child, I grew up thinking that the only way to be loved and appreciated is to be scoring high marks and doing exceptionally well all the time. So I grew up with that tendency to be a stickler, to be a perfectionist. I used to seek perfection in everything that I do. That in itself is not bad, but life is not perfect. 80% of the time, things are not perfect. So just imagine operating from this zone as an adult. So in childhood, it helps us to survive. But in adulthood, it does us more harm than good. That is why we are here to learn, how do we quiet them? Those noises in our head. Why do we quiet? How can we quiet them and tap into the empathy, the creativity, innovation, and a clear picture focus as well? So these are the 10 saboteurs. We'll go into looking at each one of them shortly. Then the right side is home to our to our positive self, so our true self. That's where they are. So we call them the 5 sage powers. So again, the left side, right side. Left side houses are saboteurs. There are 10 of them in all. We all have them in varying degrees, and none of these is better than the other, please. Ransford was telling me before we started that he actually has all the bad ones. All of us have a variety of these, and mine is not better than yours. And yours is probably because of the environment and the impact on your childhood. That's how come you've developed those saboteurs as a way to cope. Okay, so now we are going into the saboteurs, and this is where I would want you to listen and ask questions if I say something that is a bit unclear. So the captain of the saboteurs is the judge. So we all judge. How many here who here hasn't ever judged himself or herself before? So we judge ourselves, we judge others. Oh, this didn't work because of my sister's fault, or that didn't work because of my partner's fault. And then we judge circumstances. Oh, I didn't have the best of education because the teachers in my school, or my school was in a poor neighborhood. So judging ourselves, and so we seek, like, it's almost like we take comfort in that, the fact that, and we beat others up, we beat ourselves up, we beat others up, and we beat our circumstances up all the time. Can we all relate to this? Judging ourselves. So the judge, all of us have it. But the degree to which you express this varies for individuals based on, again, your personal circumstances. So that's why you don't see the judge on the list. When you take the assessment, you don't see the judge because all of us have the judge. So it's called a universal saboteur. Are we good? Are we good, people?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay. So the first, I think there's a comment. Let me see if I can. Okay, Ransford says so far so good. Thank you. So the first set of saboteurs that we are going to talk about are saboteurs that we use as a source of motivation. So they motivate us. We depend on them to motivate ourselves. And like I said, we pick these up from childhood. Okay. So the first one is controller. If those of you who've taken the assessment, if you have controller as one of your top 3 or higher saboteur, what this means is that you use being able to, the fact that, so you thrive in taking control. You want to be in control of all situations at all times. These are the people who micromanage. They struggle to delegate. They think that things cannot be done as well. Nobody can do things as well like they would do it. So they have to be there all the time. They use this as a motivation. Controller. Simply, you want to be in control. You want to have your eyes everywhere. And that's a bit unrealistic, because indeed, and if you're a mom or a team leader, or you work with people and you're a controller, what you do is that you stifle the growth of your team members because you don't give them the opportunity to try things themselves. Even your kids, you don't let them be. You don't let them try things. You want to tell them what to do all the time. And so the people in your life, that can be a bit too much if you are a controller. Now, the other one is hyperachievers. So hyperachievers are these people who are constantly looking to do something to improve themselves, either to top up their academic qualification, get another degree, so it's always one after one, they're moving after one shining object after the other. And the lie their saboteur tells them that you would only be happy after you've achieved another thing, you've had another qualification, or whatever it is that they've set their minds on. Being an achiever is not bad, but hyperachiever, meaning that you're over dependent. So that's where they get. So their sense worth, is tied to their achievements. Their worth as individuals is tied to the achievements. So when you take away their achievements, they don't have any self-worth. And that in itself can be pretty damaging. Now, for the restless, they can't sit with one thing and finish through. So they start this assignment and they are on the move to get the other one started because they just can't rest. They thrive on constant, they're always doing. So you see how if you're restless, you can easily burn out. Because there's no way you can always be doing. There are times that you need to take a seat back. So as a source of motivation, people use these three. Either they are restless to motivate them to keep doing things. If you're a mom at home, you finish cooking, now you have to do the laundry, you have to iron, you have to do this, and it's you in your mind, you cannot enjoy your weekend or have a happy life if everything around you, every task is not completed. Does anybody relate to that? Now, the other one is the stickless. So so this one is your style. So you would have a boss, like I said, someone who used to be a high stickler, always striving for perfection. So we tend to stick with things forever. We don't take action as quickly as enough because we want everything to be perfect. We want to know all the steps that we will take from point A to point B before we even begin taking the step. So you see how it will be difficult for you to progress or do any of the things you want to do because they are not perfect yet. And like I said, only 80% of things in life, only 20% of things in life are required to be perfect. The other 80, we can do with them anyhow. And again, if you're a stickler, you find it difficult to delegate because you think, you are overly critical of yourself and others because for you, if it's not done perfectly, it shouldn't be done at all. There's no point doing it if it can't be perfect. That's the stickler. So the highest, yes. So the controllers, Paulina, to your question, using myself as a stickler, most of the time, when I did this assessment first, I scored high on a stickler, and then the next one that followed was a controller. So it's very much interrelated, but controllers have this sort of dominant personality type, and they think that they want to be in charge all the time. Sticklers don't necessarily want to be in charge all the time. I am that type who would rather prefer to be behind the scenes, but my thing is that it has to be perfect. So that's one major distinction between the controllers. Controllers want to be at the forefront of everything all the time. They want to be seen as the head, the leader, and all that, Now, the pleasers simply are people who have an overdose of empathy and use it too often. They are the people who want, so your mind tells you that you can only be happy as an individual if everyone around you is happy, everyone is pleased. So these are the people who find it difficult to have difficult conversations. They find it difficult to tell people who have hurt them how they feel. So most of the time, pleasers tend to be avoiders as well. We'll come to the avoider shortly. So in simple terms, if you're a pleaser, you are overly empathetic. Empathy is good, but relying on empathy too much is problematic. Now, the hypervigilance. So these are the people who think that they are always in the state thinking that things can go wrong. So if you have them as a friend or a team member, they're the first people to ask, to point out what can go wrong on what you're doing. They would ignore all the other good things and go straight to, and they think that they are doing that to protect themselves and the people they love and the people they care about. So they are constantly on the lookout for what might go wrong. That's basically who that style. That's how they show for. Then I'm sure we can either identify it in ourselves or people around us. So again, the avoider, which I've touched on briefly, would rather. So avoiders tend to be procrastinators. Oh, I can do this later. Oh, this task is too unpleasant. I think this is a bit too difficult. Let me do it later. Oh, this conversation, if I have this conversation now, I might hurt the feelings of my friend or my brother or my sister, so I'll have it later. Now, at the end of the day, that very conversation that you're avoiding to have, or that very task you're avoiding to have, you come back and you beat yourself for not doing it. So you see how when you're growing up, it becomes your way of escape. It's something you depend on, but in adulthood, you can't be avoiding things in life. There are things that need to be done and done immediately, Now, victims as well, as a result of their childhood and circumstances that they grew up in, they are people who always feel responsible for the bad things that happen around them. And if they are in any place and something happens, their mindset is, it's probably because of me, probably something I did, probably something I said. So they play the victim all the time. And they use it sometimes to gain attention and affection. Oh, I'm not in the best of, again, it could be that growing up, they were not getting affection and they used it as a card. And if you're somebody who's always using that, like trying to get people's emotional attention by being overly emotional, people get tired of you. Now, the hyper rational, which I used to score high on as well, is we are the people who want to make sure we tick all the boxes, check all the facts. We rely too much on our rational brain and we don't tap into our intuition a lot. And I've heard it said over severally that the best business ideas, the best product service ideas were developed from our intuition, from our right side of the brain, not our rational minds. So if you're hyper rational, you have someone who is a hyper rational on your team around you, they would want to make sure that they want to see all the facts, all the numbers, all the data before they sign a simple thing or check it as correct. So that's the saboteurs for you. Do we have any question, any comment, or are we happy to? Can I go on? Are we okay? Hello. Are we good? All good. Thank you, Emma. So for those of us who haven't taken the assessment, let me see if I can put it in the chat box for you to take, but it will be good. Those who registered in advance, I sent you the link to take the assessment so you could follow along as the session was going on. So if you type this in www.positiveintelligence.com, it should take you to that page to take the assessment easily. How many of us haven't taken the assessment? I know Paulina says she hasn't taken hers. So you can either do it now or you do it later because we don't have a lot of time left. Okay, thank you, Ransford. Okay, Olajide, so Barrister, that's the link. Ransford has generously put it in the chat box for us, so you can take the assessment if you haven't. Give it people who have it. It doesn't take long. It's pretty straightforward. Don't think about it too much. Nobody's going to judge you or score you on it. It's just something that for your own use. Are we happy to go on, or you think you need a minute or two to complete the assessment, please? Let me know what you want to do. Hey, my people, you are too quiet. Should we go on, or you want a minute or two to complete the assessment if you haven't already? Nobody is talking.
For me, I finished it.
You finished it. Okay.
Please go on.
Lizzie says there's no sound. Please, can everybody else hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Then Lizzie, I think you have to check from your end because everyone else can hear me. Okay, majority of us want to go on, so let's go on. Okay, so in a nutshell, our saboteurs might generate success, but not happiness. So if you're a stickler, you might say, oh, all the projects and everything I've handled has been successful because you've made sure that you dotted every I and crossed every T. So that can generate success, but not happiness. And our saboteurs, they generate our highest success and sustained happiness. So these two, which one would you rather prefer? Do you want the success without the happiness, or you want both? And I'm sure most of us can say that if we can, we want both. Agreed? Many of us will say, if I can, I definitely want both to generate my highest success and to have sustained happiness as well. So we're going to go into our sage that would help us actually do that and see the how of doing it. Okay, so the truth about our sage. So, like I said in the beginning, the sage lives in the right side of our brain, which is associated with our positive emotions, empathy, peace and calm, decisiveness, clear-headed focus, creativity, big picture, laser-focused action. And the sage operates from the sage perspective. So these are the things that are associated with the sage. And I'm sure you would say, oh, no wonder when we rely on our sage, we can generate both sustained happiness and achieve our highest successes as well. So what then is the sage perspective? So going back to Ransford's situation of making traveling plans, and your supervisor, external supervisor, says, I can't supervise you anymore. Now, if Ransford chooses to dwell in his saboteur state, it would cause him anxiety. He will be stressed, he'll be worried. Oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to get another supervisor? Now, the sage perspective says that accept your circumstance. Okay, this is my reality now. My external supervisor has said he can't continue working with me anymore. Now, then the mindset that you develop afterwards is that every outcome can be turned into a gift and an opportunity. So that news that Ransford has received, he can either choose to dwell on it, and it can easily plunge him into depression if he allows it. Or he can be stressed out. He cannot even, his Saturday, this today can really go bad if he decides to think on only the negatives. But if he decides to shift his mind and say, well, this is the circumstance I have now. But even though this outcome, quote unquote, looks bad, I can turn it into a gift and an opportunity. Ransford. I would have to use you to do a little bit of laser coaching on this section.
Okay, I'm here.
Yes.
Here.
Does that make sense?
It does. It actually does.
Yes. So and we would go into how you can turn that outcome into a gift and an opportunity. So what it means is that quote unquote bad thing, something good can come out of it. And you see the difference in the perspectives. So being in the saboteur state, saying it's bad, this is negative, this is bad, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me on my PhD journey, or saying that, well, this can actually be turned into a gift and an opportunity. Which one of them is true?
The latter.
The latter. But the fact is, whichever one you decide or you choose becomes true.
Yeah.
So if you decide to focus on it as a bad thing, that will become your reality. But if you decide, so that's where our choice and our will is in this. We have the will to shift our gaze, or to shift the lens through which we filter things that happen around us. And this is important because life is such that things will come to us that we haven't thought about, we haven't prepared for. We are all hoping for the best, but let's not sit here and pretend that everything is rosy all the time. Things will actually come that will knock the very life of you and threaten the very foundation that you know, or you've relied on for majority of your life. So that's the sage perspective. So I want all of us. So one of them, might write it down and put it somewhere. I have it written all over my place. Every circumstance or outcome can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. That's the power of the sage. And that's what we should be focusing on, and should be dwelling of. No matter what it is in life, this thing, something good can come out of this seemingly, quote unquote, bad situation. So before I go into the sage perspective, I want to show us or demonstrate how we can generate, how we can turn any outcome, quote unquote, bad outcome into good. So there are 3 gift techniques that we need. The first one is knowledge. And you would have to ask yourself, what knowledge would you have to gain in this circumstance so that in future, the payoff will be more than the cost that you're feeling now? So Ransford, let's use you as an example. Your situation. What knowledge do you think you can gain now from this encounter, from this, so that the payoff in the future will be much larger than what this is costing you now, or this would potentially cost you now?
But I haven't thought about it anyway, but
Exactly. So that requires some thinking and introspection. This is the circumstance I have, but to turn it into a gift and an opportunity, you need some knowledge to do that. It won't just happen out of the. If that was the case, everybody will be able to do it. You need knowledge to help you. So the first one is knowledge. So a friend shared this story with me. Her father was diagnosed with cancer. Was it stage 4 cancer or so? The doctors had given him just a year or so to live. And his reaction was, no, that's not me. That can't be me. I'm coming out of this cancer. So that bad report, he could have literally gone home and started writing his will and calling his children together to share that. He decided not to do that. The knowledge, he went online, looked for alternative cancer treatments, decided to eat well, eat clean food, exercise. He didn't even take chemotherapy. Now, before he will go to a doctor's appointment, he will research all the drugs. And when the doctors give him a prescription, you say, no, I won't take that because of A, B, C, D, the side effects, the consequences. And the doctors will be like, so that anytime he had a hospital visit, the doctors knew they had to prepare adequately because this man will come and challenge them and even tell them things that they themselves are not aware of. So that was the knowledge the man needed. Go into find alternative means. Those who have survived cancer, how do they do it? And despite that, he's still, I think this is this 5 years on, someone who was given just 1 year to live, he's still alive because he decided to turn that into a gift and an opportunity. So do we see how we can do this? I like sharing the example so that it's not just abstract. You can actually go away and do it. Now, the second gift is power. So I want you to see that problem as like a muscle that you can build in a gym, that problem that you are experiencing now. So you would have to ask yourself, what mental muscle or what sage perspective will I need to grow to be able to overcome this or turn this into a positive outcome? That's the gift of the power. You definitely need, so either it's empathy. For you, Ransford, I think it will be innovate, where you brainstorm. You're just writing ideas that come to you. You write, and then you sit down and filter through all those ideas. And trust me, curiosity as well. Explore. That's another sage power you can use in this case to be able to turn this quote unquote bad news into a positive outcome. Now, the third gift is inspiration. And so here is you commit to an inspiring action that you wouldn't have taken if you didn't have this challenge. Whatever challenge. All of us have different challenges, but we are just using Ransford's case as an example, or the case of the friend whose father was diagnosed with cancer. So the inspiration, one inspiring thing he decided to do was to document his journey, his exercises, his meal plan, and all that, because he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't get that diagnosis from the doctors. So do we see how that in our lives, we can actually go away, and no matter what it is that we are confronted with, if we apply these techniques, these 3 gift techniques, knowledge, power, inspiration, we can literally turn even the worst of situations into a positive outcome. And I would want to share my own story. So I'm in the UK on an entrepreneurial visa. Last year, I went to renew my visa. It wasn't successful. And I'm like, what am I going to do? This is all I have done after school. And I could have, I don't know what people didn't tell me. Some even a lawyer suggested I go and take a care job so that I continue staying in the UK. I said, no, that's not me. God didn't bring me here on earth to come and do a care job. So a lot of brainstorming, speaking to people. Now I've been able to develop a digital product out of that. So that seemingly situation that literally knocked me off and made me question whether I have even been called to do any of the things I'm doing now. I have a digital product that I'm about to take to the market, get investment from. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, if I didn't have that negative outcome, I wouldn't have been here today. And all of us, no matter what it is that we encounter in life, we can change it into a gift and an opportunity if we use the sage perspective. Are we okay? Can I go on? Any question? I just have a few more slides and then we are good to go. Because we started late, I won't keep you here more than 10 minutes. Okay, I have a comment. Okay, Isanam says she's good. Okay. So what are the 5 sage powers? Remember I said the second technique, you need to be able to turn every outcome into a gift and an opportunity is the power. So which of the sage powers or which of the sage muscles do you need to grow to be able to overcome that challenge? And so the 5 sage powers are empathy. we all know what empathy is, compassion, and it's easy for us to have compassion for others and not for ourselves, particularly for people who are pleasers. They have empathy for everybody else, not themselves. Self-love, they score very low on that. So we should be empathetic, have empathy for ourselves, and have empathy for others. And one of the things I always say to buttress the need of empathy is to always remember that we are human. We don't have all the answers. And life is life. Things are bound, some things will not go as planned. So when you find that yourself in that, give yourself some compassion towards yourself. Likewise, extend that hand to others, because the Bible says, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. So as you're doing unto them, now look inward and do it as well. Now they explore. I always love using an example of a curious anthropologist. We all know who an anthropologist is: someone who goes away to a society or culture he doesn't know anything about, and he immerses himself in there to learn their way of life, learn the language. You can do same for your life. You just be curious. So that's where curiosity comes. You have to be curious to step outside your comfort zone, to try new things, to challenge yourself. How can I do this? What solution can I find? What have others done? That's a sage perspective. Now, navigate is one that is very, very important, particularly if we want to get to a place where, the navigate power helps us to sort what is truly important. So for those of us who have a long list of things and are not sure where to start off, and because we have so many things we want to do, is actually getting in our way of actually being productive, the navigate power is essential and critical. So you just think critically and ask yourself, what is the most important thing I need to do now? And the navigate power is critical to help us live a purpose-driven life. And I'm glad Apostle Olajide is on the call, because I call him the purpose man or the purpose apostle. If we want to live purpose-driven lives, we should always use this gift to help us sort out what truly matters, and it's also as a guide to connect us to our true self. So to be able to get to this navigate power in every circumstance or situation that you find yourself, ask yourself that, okay, this is a circumstance now. If I'm at the point of maybe 80, 90 years, the point where is the end of my life, and I'm looking back on this situation or this circumstance, what would be the most important outcome for me? What would be most important? What would be the thing that I would truly want this to look like looking back? So we are connecting to our wiser self. And you can use this question when you find yourself in those situations, and your saboteurs are tearing you down and they are beating you up. Or ask yourself, if you were to look back, imagine your 80 or 90-year-old self. Ask yourself, what would be the most important thing to me if I'm to look back on this situation? Now, the innovate one is where you come up with lots of ideas, so it's like you're asking yourself, so you come up with an initial idea, and then after that initial idea, you are like, okay, how can I flip this over again? What if I try this? What if I add that? And you do that till you run out of options. That's the innovate. You do that till you run out of options. Now, when you follow through that and you list all your options, you would definitely, more often than not, come to a point where you say, I think this is the best solution for me in this situation. The last, not the least, is activate, taking action. And I hope that by the end of today, we would all we'll leave this session wanting to take action and doing things that would help us get to where we want to get to as individuals. Take action. We don't like all these things that we are saying now. If you go away and you do nothing with it, nothing is going to change. So I like the Nike slogan just says, just do it. Just do it. It's okay. Even if it's not perfect, if you're a stickler, do it anyway. If you're a pleaser and you're feeling uncomfortable, have the conversation anyway. It's better than not having it. So doing it is better than not doing. That's the importance of how important taking action is. If we want to live lives and want to we want our minds to be our best friends, we need to learn to take action. We need to embrace taking action. So now, before we go off, before I take any questions, I would want us to practically practice this. Let's imagine you are in the office, you are at home, and you receive, quote unquote, bad news. How do you actually stop yourself and get to the place where you shift? Because now we know, by taking the assessment, we know what our saboteurs are. We know those things that repeatedly play in our minds and keep us from thriving. We know what they are. Now, with that awareness, the awareness is not good enough. When you recognize that, you need to be able to stop and gently move yourself from your saboteurs, the left side of your brain, to the right side of your brain. So we'll do, people are joining us at this time when we are almost finishing. So if you can, I'm going to go off camera so that I don't distract you. But I would kindly ask that you follow along as I go on. And
I've joined interested and listen. But it's just the presentation on it.
Esther, can you mute yourself? Hello, Esther, please mute yourself. Okay, thank you. Yes, so if you are sitting, please sit comfortably. Oh, I said I wanted to go off camera so I don't distract you. Yes. If you are seated, please sit comfortably with your feet firmly on the floor. Now try and see if you can feel all your feet on your floor, but sit with your spine straight, please. If you're seated, sit with your spine straight. If you're standing, make sure that you stand with your spine straightened as well. Good posture, your chest out. Put your hands on your thighs if you're seated. Now I want us to take in some deep breaths. So we're going to take 5 deep breaths and then we'll exhale. So on the count of 1, together with me, let's breathe in. And now you breathe out. We're going to go again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, as you're breathing in and you're breathing out, just imagine yourself sitting under a beautiful tree with rain, water dropping off onto your body. And as the rain washes, the water washes, let it wash away all your anxiety, your fears, every stress, everything on your mind that is troubling you now. Just imagine the rainwater, the water that is dripping. Let's just wash it all away. And it's okay if your mind drifts, just bring it back. So again, let's take in another deep breath. And then you exhale. Breathing deeply. We're going to do the last deep breathing. Then we'll hold it for a count of 3. So breathing. Now let's breathe out. Now I want you to rub your 2 fingers together. Rub the 2 fingertips together. Try and feel all the sensations as you rub your fingers together. With your eyes closed, if you can. Rub them together, rub them together, rub them, and feel every sensation. Feel your fingers rubbing and your palms rubbing against each other. Try and pick up all the sensations. So this is activating your sage, your right brain through touch. Now we're going to try activating it through listening. So try and see if you can pick up any sound in your environment that you weren't aware of previously. See if you can even hear yourself breathing. If you can see, if you can feel the rise and the fall of your chest as you breathe in and you breathe out. Now, to end, I would want you to do 3 final breathings. Breathe in deeply and breathe out. Breathe in again and breathe out. And then the last one, breathe in and breathe out. And open your eyes when you feel ready to. Okay. We've come to the end of our session this afternoon. Thank you for staying on. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to take your questions. For those of you who paid for the VIP, I'll be in touch so we can schedule your 45 minutes consultation with me. But yes, I'd love to hear from you. What did you learn? Was this useful? What are you taking away with you? What are you going away? Don't forget, we're all about taking actions. And you can do this. I do this early in the morning. Before this meeting, I did it because it just calms you down. And because we want to shift to the stage where we take action with a clear, laser-focused mind. We are not taking actions from the place of anxiety and stress. So you can literally fit this into your day, 5 minutes break. I can do extended sessions depending on what it is that I have to do. But you can start small. And if you're a Christian, you can sometimes I use a scripture and whilst I'm breathing and I'm just ruminating on that scripture, digesting that scripture and confessing it over my mind and over whatever situation that I'm going through at that moment. Thank you once again. Let me know if you have any questions. Do we have any questions? Are we all okay? Annabelle, are you still there? Isinam, you are too quiet.
I'm still here. I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
A very big thank you for sharing this information with us. I've really got something out of it, and I'm going to really working on myself. My question is, I enjoyed the last bit of the session, the relaxation session, but I don't know if there is
because you were saying it, but then I wish I could have seen you doing it. That, yeah, because I was like, am I doing the right thing? I understood what you were saying, but then I was like, am I doing the right thing? So I would have appreciated it if I could see you doing it. And then if I'm doing something wrong, then I'll correct myself.
Thank you. The reason why I don't do it on camera is that because sometimes it can be a distraction. Instead of people listening to me and doing it, they'd rather be watching me.
Okay.
That's why I don't do it on camera, because I don't want to distract anybody.
Okay.
You see. Okay. Thank you very much. Is that all? No more questions. Esinam, are you there?
My
Amen.
comment in
Yes.
the chat. My comments in the chat. I'm okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone who joined. I'm hopeful that you took something away with you, and you would actually go and implement this in your daily lives. Thank you once again, and bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.